Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Player X here from the Semi Limited Podcast. Just want to thank all you guys for tuning in on a weekly basis, all the love you guys show us on a daily basis, and all the content that we turn out on a, I would say, minute basis. All is thanks to you guys. So thanks for all your support and love for the podcast. Is what keeps us going. For those who don't know, maybe some artists would, but you can Spotify wrap up your year, and it tells you all of the favorite artists and songs and even podcasts that you've been listening to all year. So I was going through the stats for our Spotify year, and we have pretty good numbers across the board for being so new to the scene, and I was really, really thankful and appreciative for it. And we had 40 plus of our viewers have the Semi Limited podcast as their number one podcast that they listen to. So I just wanted to take a second and say thank you from the bottom of my heart for you guys, honestly, for messing with us and having a good time and enjoying the content that we push out. And we try to get the nitty gritty and the raunchy out there for you that you won't be able to hear anywhere else. And I just appreciate that some people are actually taking the ramblings of a crazy man actually to heart. So I appreciate you guys for that, and we can't wait. Thank you enough for a great launch here, and we hope to bring only better things for you guys in 2024. But with that being said, we have a couple things on the docket that we're going to get into. A special guest that I want to introduce who's been lurking in the background, so we'll get him out there. But before we do all of that, as usual, we have to do all the plugins. So please go to our Linktree link down below in the description box to follow all of our social sites. If you click that link, a tab will pull up with all of our social sites and followings and distributions on there, which you can click to listen to the podcast. Follow us on sites like YouTube or Instagram, maybe our Facebook page, X, whatever you want to. Even if it's just something like our TikTok where we're doing our short form content, all of it's available right there in that link. So you can click on there, follow everything, subscribe, notification bells, all that jazz. You guys know the deal. Our giveaways, as we usually do, will be on the numbers of 50 followers for TikTok, 100 followers for X, and then 200 followers for IG and YouTube. So be sure to tell a friend to tell a friend to share it with another friend to share it with their mom, so that way we can get these followers and give more back to you guys for giving so much support back to us. Speaking of support, we want to shout out to Unplug Gaming in Manlius, New York for sponsoring the podcast. Be sure to join their Discord server in the description box below to be a part of their TCG community. You can join that Discord and be a part of their Yu-Gi-Oh community, their Lorcana community, their Magic community, their Digimon community, their One Piece community. It doesn't matter what card game it is, including board games. They all have a community down there for you. So go find a card game that you might want to sync up with. And if you do go into the store, be sure to say that the boys over at Semi Limited sent you, and they'll be sure to hook you up. Joe actually just recently hooked us up with a recent copy of Valiant Smashers that we'll be giving away to one lucky subscriber. We will probably most likely do something maybe on one of the social medias as far as a giveaway, but we may actually switch it up and do a giveaway on Brad's stream, which I'll now plug in because you can catch Brad, aka Mr. Perfect, live streaming on Twitch every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the East Coast for those who are outside of the U.S. His Twitch will be in our link tree down below, and I was thinking about maybe having him take the box and giving it away to one lucky person on the stream. Everyone who's showing love, maybe the most interactions for the night or something like that. We'll figure it out. They might earn themselves a nice little box sponsored by Unplugged Gaming. So 2 birds, 1 stone. And our last announcement before we get into today's episode will be the last episode of the year. You guys are listening to the last guest we're going to have on, but that's just the last solo guest. The next episode, we're going to have a very live panel of guests from the discography, and we're going to bring them on for one last hurrah for 2023, leading into 2024, and that is going to be a live recorded podcast, meaning you, the listener who are listening right this second now, can be a part of that process by joining our Discord, which is also in that Linktree link down below, and being in our Discord as of Friday, December 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time sharp. Once again, 8 p.m. on the East Coast of the USA for those who are not located in the USA. So be sure to join there, and then you'll see all the instructions on how to participate. We'll have the panels. You can come and give your opinion, be a part of the episode, hear yourself live on the episodes as it plays back, and obviously have all the fun in the world with not only myself, but everyone else as well. So once again, the end of year live recorded podcast episode will be Friday, December 15th at 8 p.m. But now that all that stuff is out of the way and you guys are done hearing me talk, I can introduce our guest for tonight. I actually was scrolling through YouTube, and I do like to show love to the little guys, here and there, being a little guy ourselves. And I was watching just cards that we should probably be looking out for. I'm a big market watch buff, as some people might know, especially some of the guests we've had on, like Team Sakurazo, V Paisano, obviously Autumn's Allure. But this guy I stumbled across, and I loved the information he had, and I reached out to him. He said that he was ecstatic to be on the podcast and to give his thoughts to you guys. So what other way to celebrate having our last guest than with someone who's eager to be here. So without any further ado, I want to introduce to you guys the Yugituber known as Vengeful Shadows.
Hey, thank you, Player X. I do appreciate you having me on the podcast, the semi-limited podcast. By the way, I do love that name. It's like really sick. I do. I like the Player X title as well, man. Like, it's good.
Well, semi-limited was supposed to be with me and a buddy of mine, for some people who do know from our beginning days, but he decided to go do his own thing and walk his own path, so he left. But it was a play on words that there was two of us talking about the ramblings of Yu-Gi-Oh things, but now it's just me and a guest, so it's not a big deal.
And it's still semi-limited.
Still the semi-limited brain here.
Yeah, exactly. It works out. But I do
Absolutely.
appreciate you having me on, and I'm definitely glad you liked the top 10 cards to be picking up for 2024. Is there anything like on that list in particular you were a fan of, or?
I mean, I personally like that. I mean, because I'm pretty sure you had the Bellstar package on there as well. I like that.
Correct. Some
people didn't call that the Flambergs at $3 were actually going to rise, but now Flambergs are even seeing the increase to like $13 upwards to like $15. So cards like that in archetypes that you recommend. Also, including Horus cards. I think you mentioned the Horus cards in there as well. Some of those ones that you may not think are going to be played. I mean, M-Steady is obviously the best one, but there's going to be obviously more than just one good card, so it's better than you to have the other ones before they go up in value too. So things like that definitely were cards that I think that are really good. And I didn't want to spoil the whole list because there's a bunch of meta relevant ones too, but there's also ones that you wouldn't see from a couple formats prior that might shock you to be as one of the best cards from 2023. So I actually enjoyed the list, and for those who don't know, you can go check out his YouTube. I'll also link that down in the description box, so you can check out his channel, which has a lot of market watch as well as informative format info for the meta game.
Yeah, no, and we also try to like talk about some cards, like you said, that will be relevant in the upcoming metas, especially when you look over at OCG. And I know our formats aren't the same, but no one can deny that OCG heavily, kind of foreshadows what we're going to be expecting to see, at least to some part in the TCG. Yeah, oh, absolutely. And like, yeah, they got the Maxi, they got the called buys and everything, like, kind of like the Master Duel package that you got to put in every deck. But besides that, whenever you see for instance, like Snake Eye or like this Bonfire combo going off, like I'm pretty sure like all the top 3 decks over there are all playing it. So it's like you're going to see that here. Like there's no denying that we're going to be seeing all that package come here to the TCG when it gets released.
I think that the OCG for sure is like the innovators of like most of these decks, because obviously they get the cards first. Their card pool is a little bit wonkier than ours, but they have access and ability to fiddle with the cards IRL longer than we do. But I definitely think that TCG amplifies the game to a different level. Like we may take the things that we see that going on in the OCG, which is more of a control stun based format for those who don't really know about the OCG, and we kind of take it and we put our combo decks in, we put our aggro decks and whatnot. But it's definitely a different style between both of the OCG and the TCG, but they definitely come up with a lot of the concepts, but we definitely make them way better, I feel.
Yeah, we seem to perfect it. I mean, that's why they like Dragon Link and we take it to Worlds and win, So
yeah, exactly.
That's how
sure.
that goes.
Shout out Paulie.
Yeah, shout out to Paulie. That was definitely something to watch that live. I mean, that was about time we got that gold star,
Absolutely. We just needed someone to be a good noodle. That's
exactly. Hey, well, he's a beast.
Now we can start. Just like a NFL player, just like an NFL fan whose team finally won a Super Bowl, we can just start talking shit for the rest of the year. That's
exactly.
Really it,
Exactly.
But before we get into today's episode, do you have any shout outs or anything like that you want to give note to, or anyone that you want to, give a how do you do,
or
maybe a
absolutely.
thanks for support?
the best, like, biggest shout out I gotta say. I mean, obviously, like, all my friends who support me and everything like that. Shout out for you for having me on and checking out the channel, and all the people who watch, like the Vengeful Shadows YouTube. I do appreciate you guys. And then the biggest shout out goes to like my basically partner in crime, Thug314. That's his gamer tag. He helps me all the time with the thumbnails and just kind of ideas in general. I get to bounce a lot of my ideas off of him, and just really helpful having a second opinion, especially when I'm completely wrong about stuff. So it's always nice. So just huge shout out.
Oh, I agree.
He's the number one, like, for sure.
We always got to shout out the people in the back too. I'll actually shout out our mod and basically my whole tech guy too. His name is Trent. And most guys in the Discord know him as Mr. Teaster. But yeah, I'll shout out to him too, because a lot of the guys in the background that don't get the, I would say, the fame, maybe not even the credit they deserve, but definitely deserve like a piece of that pie, because they put in just as much work as the faces of most of these brands.
1,000%. Some of them even more. And like, I gotta give one more shout out too. I'm glad, like, I kind of thought of this. Okay, so it's my buddy Mr. Kodak, and he also does some YouTube. I'll be honest, like, you'd probably be really interested in this guy. He's a beast, okay? Ooh. So he tops, like, I've gone to him to OTS tournaments. He has won them, okay? He wins, like, locals, OTSs. He will top regionals. Okay, he is a very, very good player. So that's Mr. Kodak with the M1STER. I think it's underscore KODAK, I think so. And he streams as well on the Twitch, but he is really, really good. So whenever those decks come over from OCG to TCG and he gets a hold of them, he definitely performs with them to the highest.
Start your engines, right?
Yeah. Like, I'll be honest, man. He's someone that, like, he's not big time. So some of the big time people will see his decks, and then you'll see those decks start, like, arriving at tournaments, and he just doesn't get enough credit.
So he's the OCG. He's just implementing it, and now all these major players. That's what I'm saying.
Like, and I've been like watching him play for well over like 10 years or more, and like it's just the time after time again. So again, he's someone where if you want to see someone just beating ass with some meta, that's the guy. Or even off meta stuff, like, that's the guy you want to check out as well. So big shout out to Mr.
Actually,
Kodak.
shout out to him. 100%. Hopefully, I can reach out to him. We'll see what we can do about getting him on.
You would love him. He's awesome.
I want to have every single duelist, I think, on this podcast at one way, shape, or form.
There you go. That's the goal, man.
That's a good goal to have, right?
Gotta catch them
but
all.
getting into today's big facts, right? But getting into today's episode, we have a couple topics on the docket today. But let's start with the 2023 OTS Charity Events that took place over the weekend. For those who don't know or don't attend their local events on a regular basis, the charity events are usually Konami's ways of giving back to the community in more ways than just giving us cards and a ban list every once in a while, typically in the form of like a food drive or some sort of like clothing drive or something. Most people don't know that it used to be you would have 5 cans of like canned food, and you'd basically go to your local OTS with your cans of foods with you, and you would wager cans of food as your actual like basically prize against your opponent. And the more you'd win, the more cans you'd have at the end, which you can then redeem for basically prize support. For the past weekend, we had our OTS charity event. We had about like 24 players who attended. We all donated 5 cans each. So we had basically over 100 plus cans, and it was like 127 plus because I think more people brought more than 5 just in case. Our locals is pretty much like that. And so good job to everyone for committing to the cause. Where usually you would wager your actual food cans with your opponent, this year though they switched it up and they actually made it so that way you were given alternative star chips by Konami. So there was like a little sheet that was given out. Some people saw it. If you didn't see it, it's on our Instagram, which you can find in that Linktree link down below. And we had a post where we showed it what it looked like when you had all 5 star chips that's still attached to it, and then what one player looked like when he lost all 5 of his star chips. But it's actually really cool that you actually are able to use star chips now instead of the actual carrying around those lugs of cans of food in your bag. Now you got to pick them out. Now you got people arguing over they want the string beans or they want the canned beans or the kidney beans, or maybe I want the mashed potatoes or whatever it came down to be. Like, people were always finding some way to like making it about what they wanted instead of what the whole idea was supposed to be about. So I think this is a way better way of implementing it. I did like the Star Chips idea. It kind of made me feel like I don't know. It made me feel like the whole event seemed more like the nostalgic Duelist Kingdom arc from the OG Yu-Gi-Oh series, where like you had to start off on the boat with 2 star chips and then you make your way down. So if you wager both of those off the rip and you lose, oh well. Then, but you know, if you bet one and lose, you still got a chance. But you know, it was a cool event. I thought that it was pretty cool. I wish the prize support was a little bit different. I don't know where everyone else got their prize support, but ours was OTS 18, which had Ulti Zeus, Ulti Dogmatica Ecclesia, and Ulti Fusion Destiny, which all 3 of them were pulled at our OTS. And we had Legendary Duelist, Duelist of the Deep, and it was just a bad one, where you're basically pulling like a $3 droplet or you bust. So,
yeah.
But did you partake in your local charity event?
Unfortunately, I cannot say I did. I definitely was not able to make it up to my OTS this weekend. But I mean, honestly, that's super good to hear that like Konami is still doing stuff for the community. I mean, even during like COVID, I think that's when they started the Lost Art promotion to like help people go to their OTSs to still get revenue pushed towards OTS, which I don't know. I mean, Konami does a lot of weird stuff, but the one thing I can say is they really do stick by and have really gotten better at sticking by with the OTSs and just helping like out those the shops to keep them in like business. And I mean, I just remember the dark time of Yugioh where we had like no shops open and nowhere to really go for competitive play, and like to see where it is now, it's really nice like to see Konami kind of like in a way investing a little bit more into their shops, and then like you said, like back to the community with these type of charity events, which again, it's just nice to see with coming from Konami. So
especially like because this is only just from one of our OTSs. We here at Syracuse, New York, are like kind of almost spoiled and blessed to have multiple OTSs, but then our drivable, like I would say 15-20 minute like range. So we have a lot of like variety and a lot of choices when it comes to where to buy cards, where to play, who to click up with, what people are going to be at what locals and whatnot. But I do sometimes have to remember that this is a blessing and that not all people are blessed with this kind of convenience, and it's harder for them to make OTS championships or even something like a locals because it's just maybe like an hour and a half drive to your nearest one, or just there's not enough people to play or who don't have interest. You might have only 3 or 4 people a week, so you may not even have a locals. So like I sometimes take that for granted, but we have to make sure that we don't.
No, and we're pretty lucky here as well. We have like multiple OTSs. I'm pretty sure 2 of them have hosted regionals as well, so that's kind of like 2 hosts for regionals, which is actually really nice.
Drop your OTS
names. Okay, so the first one is Yeti Gaming. We got Yeti Gaming over here in St. Louis, and then we also have Mystic TCG, and big shout out to Mystic. Okay, so do you remember the uncut sheet of Leviathans and Red Eyes that was like Starlight that was going around? Like it was like
the Red Eyes one, I do recall. Yes.
Yeah, it was like Red Eyes Dragoons with Leviathan, and it was like a huge uncut sheet. Okay, that is Mystic TCG. That's who obtained that uncut sheet. So that's like hanging up in the store.
Awesome.
So if you saw that on Twitter, that's who that was. Yeah, they didn't get enough shout out for that. So Mystic TCG, up and coming. They just started up like a year ago, I'd like to say, and they're killing it in Yu-Gi-Oh, but they're like actually slaying it in One Piece right now. So if you guys are in the area and want to check out Mystic TCG, I definitely give them a shout out. Again, we do have Yeti Gaming. That's where I used to do commentary at. And then we also have Collector Store, and that's Yeti Gaming and Collector Store are the 2 that actually do, I believe, host the regionals in the area. So again, we're pretty lucky going from like 0 tournaments at like places all to kind of like having as many as we have. Obviously, the popularity in card games like definitely helped with that. But I don't know, it's nice seeing that. But I don't know, it does. You do have to remember, and it is hard to remember, that like there are players out there that don't. And like I guess when you stream and you're on YouTube, you do get reminded that there are people out there that are like, man, I got to go to literally buy all my cards online and I can't trade it. And that kind of
it sucks because I have a segment that I kind of like asking people, especially our guests. I've got a big like I would say argument with the local cats as far as the importance of locals, and I ask competitive players or non-competitive players all the time, even as guests, hey, do you go to locals, and do you believe that the locals is an important like part of like the card gaming experience, or like should be a part of the card gaming experience? Like, and we've had people come on, such as competitive players like Paulie Aronson, who say that they openly say that they don't go to locals, not because it's the time commitment or whatever like that, but just because you can get better training for like bigger events and stuff like that online, playing better duelists than the people who may not take the game as serious as you, which makes sense. But like, I think that another aspect of going to locals is, as you said, like card availability, the ability to get cards that are useful to you while simultaneously getting rid of cards that aren't useful to you, while simultaneously getting the cards you want right then and there, and not having to wait for them to be sent out, hoping that the center sent them out at the right time. You know what I'm saying?
And like
trading,
all
that stuff is like inherently better.
Trading is something I am so sad to see has like I don't know about your locals, but anytime I've gone up to mine, like I don't do it all the time, but like then this is probably half of it is because like, okay, so when I used to be more into the game and like I was doing the streaming up at the Yeti Gaming and everything, I was big into trading. I mean, I was not going to spend all that money on those cards. I liked collecting, so I got some nice ultimate rares, some just kind of nice older stuff, and that's all from trading like 10 plus years ago for this stuff. I would have never purchased this for the prices they are now. And like, you speak to players now and they'll show up to their locals, they don't have a binder, they only have a deck, and then they start complaining about the card prices after they want to pick up a meta deck after it's all gone up in price. And it's like, the simple solution for that is to trade. Like, and I mean, it is a trading card game. If you take the cards out of the sleeve, you flip them over, you read it, it says a trading card game, and people have forgotten that. And I mean, especially with how you see the prices fluctuate, if you would have picked up Rescue Aces when they were cheap, I mean, they were cheap. I mean, Turbulences were what, less than $2 or something? Hydra and Spike, weren't they $5s? Yeah, so it's
Hydras were like at most like $10, $15.
Yeah, so it's like, I think they were lower than that. And it's like, if you would have picked them up, even a couple extra, you could have started trading them for a much higher value stuff, like whether it be ulti thrusts or whether it be $75 SP Knights that now are in triple digits. It's like, the trading aspect is very much undervalued, especially if you are a budget player. Like, if you are a budget player, you need to trade. Like, you need to be trading. Yeah. And especially if you're in a meta that you are not enjoying. If you're in a meta that you're like, all right, I'm not going to do well in this. Like, my deck isn't good enough for it. Maybe it just got cycled out. Maybe you're just waiting for the next meta to be a little bit better for you. You should utilize that time into trading for stuff that from like looking into the OCG that will go up, because your binder value will go up, and then you can start trading for the cards you need in the future by like acquiring them now. And it's just so important. And like, that's the thing about the secondary market in Yu-Gi-Oh! And you don't, like, you see it in One Piece, you don't see it as much in Pokemon, but like, with how much things fluctuate in Yu-Gi-Oh, like, you never see a return like this on your money in a savings account. Like, you're not gonna put $5 in a card and see it go up to 50 in like 2 months. Like, that just doesn't happen in like the real world.
It doesn't happen
money.
enough.
Yeah,
there are times where it does.
Well, for Yu-Gi-Oh though, it's like, but like for Yu-Gi-Oh, like, you'll see these, like, what I mean is, like, in real life or like putting your money in a savings account, that won't happen. But like, if you're in Yu-Gi-Oh and doing like the value for trades, like, you're gonna see your value actually just exponentially increase, and then you can trade that for more stuff that their value is gonna start increasing. And then before you know it, you actually have like a binder worth several $100s that maybe you just paid like, $40 into. And I just like, I don't mean to keep harping on it, but trading at locals is just something very important.
Absolutely. This local guy, shout outs to Christian Murray, who basically just comes and goes with the meta that he actually likes. So he'll pick up a deck, play with it for a while, and then if he doesn't like playing in this meta, he'll just fall back for a bit. And then when he comes back, he's trading these staples. He's always looking for his stuff though. Like, he's always looking for like the newest staples that come out, so that way he doesn't have to worry about getting them later and whatnot. Even if he's trading older cards for them, he's always able to stay relevant, even in times where he doesn't play necessarily. So yeah, absolutely. Looking forward, especially in times when you're not playing, is I think the best thing you can do. Look into formats like doing what you said, and looking at formats like the OCG, where you can see what cards are actually coming out in newer sets and what combo lines are and all that stuff. So I think that's actually really, really cool, and that's something that people should be doing more of. But definitely trading, holding on to cards that you just feel you have a gut value, or sorry, you have a gut intuition feeling that this card is gonna go up. It's just too good of a card. Like a good example is Kurikara, which was like a $5 or $6 secret like on release.
Yes.
In Power of the Elements, just because everything else was being highlighted from that set. But like it just didn't have its time that format. But like I knew for a fact, like, yo, this card is too good to not be utilized at some point in time, shape or form in the future. And then Cashier Iceheart came out, and boy did we start utilizing it, you know. So then it shot out from like a $5 card to like a $60 card.
Yes.
So anyone who just sniped them for $5, $6, $7, $8 back in the day, just being like, all right, I know this is a good card, I'll get as many as I can now. I know I got like 6 copies at like $10 a pop, I think, at one point in time. I just bought them all just because I just wanted them right then. And they shot up to 50s a pop, and I was like, yep, this is exactly why you do those things. I just think that I took that $60 and I just made 300, you know. But it does happen few and far often, so I don't want people to be like, oh, well, I can start making a living vending. I mean, there's some people who can because you just got that intuition, but yeah, just I don't think that that's something that happens too often enough for you to like really do it on a consistent basis. But
yeah, no, and it's
trading is definitely where it's at.
Yeah, exactly, and like that's the other thing. I'm glad you talked about like the Kurikara being that low and like holding on to your stuff when it's low. Like just because everyone else is getting rid of their stuff for cheap doesn't mean you should. Like these cards prices have fluctuated so much, even in the past. Like my one buddy, he used to be a big Ultimate Rare collector, and he did a bunch of collecting with the Ultimate Rares and ended up getting rid of them for like relatively cheap, it's been a long time, like way before COVID, you know. So whenever COVID happened, all of our prices just spiked up to insane amounts. You know, you look back at some of the Ultimate Rares he had, and they're like what was like Ravio Ulti first at? Isn't that like wasn't that like 1,000 or something?
Yeah.
Like insane, like some
there.
crazy
at
stuff.
At least 4 digits.
Like
I knew.
literally, yeah. And it's like he had that, and like that's what I mean. Is at the time he got rid of his stuff for okay prices, you know, but
fraction of it probably.
But ultis way back in the day, like some were valued well, but the collectability didn't, like people just didn't collect. It was like you were into the meta, you know. And like I'm talking like 10 plus years ago, like just a long time ago, like, or maybe it was,
before the COVID stimulus.
Oh, way
came
before.
And fucked shit up.
So it's like
came and fucked it all up.
My main point is just because someone else values this card at a certain amount, does that not mean that that card's going to stay that value? Especially when you're talking about like the secret rare, like Flame Burge Dragon, you know, that you were like for the Snake Eye support or the Kurikara. It's like, yeah, it's not good now, but over an OCG, you're literally saying if you're having a Cashier and Mare match and one player has Kurikara, they're like winning that match every time.
Yeah, that game is over.
It's
right
over.
Then.
Yeah. So it's just important to hold on to cards that you really do believe are going to just be good in the future, too. So.
But speaking of future, going into some of the things that we've been hearing in the, I would say, Twitter world, and speaking of tournaments, an old rumor has resurfaced recently with a little bit of tangible details that might spark some interest for some of the competitive players in the community. Duelist Jeff Jones, most people know him in the competitive world and in Yu-Gi-Oh! Alike. I think he's won like multiple YCSs and UDSs and whatnot. He recently leaked on social media his conversation with a representative, which gives us a little bit of insight. And for those who don't know, this conversation read as followed. Greetings, Jeff, the UDS champion. We hope this message finds you well. We are excited to formally notify you to mark your calendar for the dates of 2/16/24 to 2/18/24 in the forthcoming weeks. We will be unveiling more details about an exclusive event that all of our UDS champions will be invited to attend as our guests. Please note that you need to bring your UDS belt in order to participate. Stay tuned to your email inbox as we will be sending updates with additional information as soon as they become available. We eagerly anticipate your participation and look forward to sharing this exciting news with you. Best regards, Card Business, KDE, US. Meaning, for some people, we might have a Hunger Games type UDS going on. I think Konami might be letting the reins off a little bit.
Yeah, it's gonna be a Yu-Gi-Oh battle royale. So
yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Fortnite meets Yu-Gi-Oh.
Hey,
right?
man, I'm about that. I'm about that real big right now. I'll tell you what. So,
for sure, like 100%. But for those who don't know, what we're talking about, a UDS actually stands for Ultimate Duelist Series, and it's an elite, prestigious dueling tournament series that mixes veteran and upcoming competitors alike in a way that no other did. So most people know things that are tier 2 or higher today, such as YCSs, which are just Yu-Gi-Oh Championship Series, which basically is the best, I would say, equivalator for UDS. But the UDS was very, very prestigious. It was I would say, pinky out, if you will, way to play Yu-Gi-Oh, because of how just unbelievably competitive it was. Like, you had like the top players of the top players competing with the top players. Like, it was like 1% of like the greatest Yu-Gi-Oh minds are competing for the UDS series. And it's
so
like,
did you get an invite to that, or like did a player have to get invited into the UDS
so
series?
Yes,
or? Okay,
yes.
okay.
So it's a point where you can't just go as like, let's just say me or you wanted to just go play in the UDS series. Not A, because they're not around anymore, but B, because yes, they required an invite. One of the main differentiators between the UDS and something like a YCS, in order to play or compete in the UDS tournament, you actually needed to be invited there. Gaining your invite was earned through competing the UDS points, which is similarly how like Worlds points works, where you go to tier 2 or higher events, regionals, YCSs, yada yada, and you earn what would be Worlds points, but it would be UDS points. So they'll take your name, they'll qualify you. Obviously, your points go down and whatever, and then you actually, it's not like you go to one regional and you get an invite to Worlds. You got your invite. Let's say you top 32, and now you get your invite to a UDS. No, you got your points put in, and then from the points tally, you got your invites based on how high you scored throughout the duration of the year. You had to be topping regionals to be getting invites to these things. You had to be topping YCSs to be entered to compete at a UDS. Like, these were very, very prestigious events, not just something that nobodies were allowed into. Not to say that we're all nobodies, but like, these are like the highest tiered players, like great minds like Jesse Cotton.
I mean, I dare say this is more competitive than a YCS at that point, with the invite system and how it goes. I mean, that sounds really high end, like, so is this anything to do with the Tokyo Dome by chance? Like, is this like similar?
I think it's something similar to it, but like, I don't know if the Tokyo Dome is still like a thing anymore, but I know UDSs actually were discontinued, but the prize, so I guess support, or the awards for winning actually hold on with the players until 2025. So I was recently informed that basically, if you win a UDS, it was supposed to last for forever, but obviously they discontinued it. So because of that, you now get all of your entry into tier 2 or higher events is covered. You get a 2-round bye, and you also get like a UDS cloth mat for winning, and then the other prizes and stuff like that. But basically, they paid for your entry into all tier 2 events, so like YCSs you didn't have to pay for. That's why players like Jeff Jones, like Jesse Cottons, always have a 2-round bye for their events, because they're UDS champions, so they forever in perpetuity, or at least until 2025, get those benefits. So it's way more than just getting, like, I would say, a prize card and like a little trophy. Like, you actually get like,
I mean, two-round buys at every tournament is actually kind of that's really good, for those like that haven't been to like those types of events. Like, that's where you can almost like play the weird rogue stuff, you know what I mean, that like will actually sneak up on you and get some wins off or whatever. I mean, some, like, I don't know, what do you think of the 2-round buy that they get by chance? Because I've seen a lot of players argue against it, and I see a lot of people that just don't mind, and
personally don't mind. I feel like it's something that you're complaining about it, you're just hating, because like there are separate events for it. Like, OTS champions sometimes have qualifiers for VIP qualifiers for it. Certain, obviously, if you earned your way into UDS, you telling me I placed and won the best, most competitive, high level of play that there ever was, and I haven't earned a right to go to a regional or like a YCS or some shit like that, or get the first 2 rounds. Like, no, like you've earned it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, exactly, exactly. I don't mind at all. I think
it's not just something that just is given.
And it's also like it gives a little bit more like it will want other players to enter into those events to obtain that same type of status. You know what I mean?
Status.
Yeah, exactly.
Status, yes.
And it's almost like gank protection. Like you're not gonna get the random decks knocking you out round 1 and 2 because I mean I'll be honest. Like we do want to see the best play. Like I don't want to say it that way. That kind of sounds horrible, but it's like. It's really rough when it's like, you know, like you see a player do like that, you know, is going to do well, and he does lose to some like rogue build or like it's like, oh yeah, he just lost to the Exodia guy in the YCS round 1. Like that would have been something, you know. But I mean, I guess we all could I just see lost that a
volcanic burn.
Yeah, you know, so if they can make it through the UDS and then make it through that tournament that they already got the 2, you know, like round wins in, I mean, they still have to progress the rest of the tournament into day 2. And then into the top cut, which honestly, I mean, that's a lot of work still in any of those tournaments. So I definitely don't mind. But I've seen both sides. Like I just see people on like, you know, X complaining about everything. I mean, they complain about everything on X. So
I mean, Twitter complains about everything. They're a bunch of babies there. Yeah. I don't get involved in like the ongoings of too much of the Twitter world, but I do be seeing what's being said and what's going on and whatnot. That's how I caught the Jeff Jones and info and whatnot. But
yeah, you gotta be on.
Yeah, as far as like the VIP status for having 2 rounds, hey, you earned that. You want to complain about not having one? How about you go out and earn one, and then tell me how bad it is for you to be able to sleep in because you don't have to be there for the first 2 rounds because you're not there by 10 o'clock. You're there by noon, meaning you get more sleep, so you're more refreshed for dueling, and then B. You can go get breakfast. You can actually go get food and like not have to just wake up, cram some continental breakfast down your throat or some McDonald's or whatever it is right by the venue and then go play cards. You actually get to take your time and like enjoy yourself and prepare for the event that you're about to play in. And then like not to say that having 2 free wins is anything, but like not playing for I guess an hour and a half because 45 minutes times 2 would be basically an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. You're not playing, you're not utilizing your brain. You have more stamina. You're less fatigued. You're less fatigued than most other duelists. So, 100%. You get those benefits giving to you, and then tell me that it's, you know, after you put in the work, obviously.
Yeah, and on top of that, like they have like a little more. I'm sure there's also like an added extra stress level too. Like when you go to an event, everyone knows who you are. Everyone knows what you're running. And everyone's kind of peeping. You're
also in your own section too.
Yeah, so it's like
you don't play with the commoners.
Hey,
you know?
See, there we go. But I don't know. I mean, there's something to be said like whenever you're dealing with that type of extra added like stress when you go to events because they are creators themselves. You know, they content create and they are tweeting out constantly every other like in between rounds like they're. Rounds, what's going on. So, I mean, they got added stuff at the tournament rather than just going to play as well. I mean, they're there for business on top of fun, so.
Yeah, imagine, like, being, like, someone like Jeff Jones or even Jesse Cotton, who actually, as to all of our examples, is a UDS winner as well as a content creator now and trying to maintain his card shop business and trying to maintain his sponsors and whatnot and trying to go to all these events. And not only do you have to crank out content for people to, enjoy and not only enjoy but gain something from because you're obviously the world's probably best player like in the game and like now you're held to such a high standard, like they put you on such a high pedestal that like they want all this information from you. What's the next thing I got a net deck, you know what I'm saying? So to have all that stress on there, I understand why some people don't do both, like just do content creating or just be a competitive player, just because to be a competitive player, you have to inherently not do content because doing content would get rid of your competitive edge, knowing what's being utilized, knowing the tech cards to implement, knowing the lines of play that your opponents aren't even thinking about yet, but have access to, you know what I'm saying? All that gives you the competitive edge. And if you're going ahead and blabbing about it 4 or 5 times a week, you're people, and especially if you're someone of a higher level, someone like Pac or something like that, you're giving away your sauce not only to people who you might play against, but to your other opponents, like other people who are going to be like, damn, I didn't think about that. Let me implement that and try to amplify that in a better way. You know what I'm saying? So it's a weird balance that you got to have. So when people don't give their whole goo, or when they give like half deck profiles or like profiles without the side deck, or maybe a card or two is missing from the extra or main deck because they don't want people to know what they're on. I definitely do fuck with that because like that's them having to keep their competitive edge. But at the same point in time, I do want to know like what that goo is, and so I feel like if you're gonna drop the content or give us that, you should probably include that with it. Like if you're going to give us the content, give us all the content, not just censored or like sponsored content.
Yeah, no, I've always been slightly disappointed with the with the missing card profiles. That's definitely something that's been newer than like popping up. You know, like I'll sell you my deck list, or I'll sell you my for Fortnite. There's like the drop spots you can sell off. You know, just that's like the new thing, man. Like they're just like selling off their like ideas.
People just want to buy things. Now. I don't understand. They don't want to go out.
They don't want to trade. They don't want to trade. You know.
Yeah, big facts, right? 80% value, right?
Yeah,
I got a trade binder.
Yeah, so it's going, but I mean, it is like you said, like to be expected whenever they're at that level. It's still just disappointing when like everyone starts doing it, and you're like looking at a normal deck profile from some guy who just won a locals, and he's like, "I'm not giving you half my deck." It's like, bro, you just won a locals, but. You know, it's just
big facts. Yeah, like for real. Yeah. This was a 10-person locals, dog.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But
you're playing generators.
That's what I mean. So it's like in that point, it's like okay, maybe not to those degrees, but I don't know. I just want to give definitely shout out because like fucking Jesse Cotton, bro. Like he's a beast. Like that dude's a beast, man. He's been killing it. And then I thought I was gonna say something else. I cannot remember what I was gonna say. But those tournaments. The other thing too is like I don't think some players really understand like the mental and physical fortitude you have to make it through like a 2-day event, and like not just make it through, but like to win one of those. I mean that's a lot, you know. I mean we've all worked, we've all had long shifts, I'm sure, at our jobs, and they're annoying. But dare I say, you know, there's a lot more stress sometimes that goes on at like some of those events than like a shift at a job, you know what I mean? Like I guess it really depends the job, you know. Paramedics, you guys got it, but you know, there's definitely like you gotta be resilient when you go to one of those big events. So definitely takes a lot.
I mean, even something like this, like how the battle royale of UDS winners might go down. Like I think this is something that even me is like I would consider myself a competitive player, but I only have the heart of a competitor. Obviously, I don't compete at the highest levels like. Obviously like Jeff Jones and stuff like that, but I'm pretty hyped for this. Like if they air this, like these UDSs used to be aired and streamed and stuff like that, and like people can see exactly like the greatest minds playing the deck. Like what did this person bring? Why did they bring it? What did they implement that's going to that they might counter another deck? Like what is this deck strategy? How consistent is it? Like does it do it every single time? Like is it losing to this? Like to have like the highest minds in the game hyper focused on like format driven cards, because like some people don't know, like when you go into like something like YCS, you're deck building not to play the tournament but to play the top cut. You almost have to like imagine that you're out of the 11 rounds beforehand and you're now in the top 32 or top 64 or whatever it is, because that's where the real competition happens. That's where it kicks up to that next level. So like, you might play the weather painter guy in round 1, and then you might play the runic player in round 2. But with like when you start getting to the top cut, that's what your side deck is, and like your main deck concept is supposed to like utilize or help beat the meta.
Absolutely. So absolutely, and like there's something to even have that like with like having a side deck, because like if you side deck only for the beginning and you make it to the end and you lose, you just wasted all that time just to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so many people who bubble or don't make day 2 but don't make the top cut because they weren't ready for the last couple of rounds that they were going to face, which is the meta.
Yes.
So I think that there is a difference between the two, but things like the UDS, I think I'm really amped for. This is something, especially because you have to have like your UDS belt. Like imagine, because like at UCS or YCSs, they give you prize cards and whatnot. Yeah, it's cool to get a trophy, but this one you get like an actual belt. And for people who don't know, I'm probably gonna drop on our IG like a picture of this belt when the time comes more in February. But like these belts were really cool. For those who are like WWE fans, like they're basically the same thing. Like it says UDS champion on it. It's got the whole logo. I'm pretty sure it says the date of the tournament on this, so you know exactly where it's won. And the fact that you got to bring that belt to the event, that makes it feel like they're gonna have like a belt match or something like that. They're having star chips for real.
So I think that.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You might have to go buy it back just to compete. You know. Yeah, this might put a spike for the UDS belts. Are we seeing a second-hand flux on the market?
Yep, we're seeing a belt buyout.
Yeah, for a belt buyout. This ain't no Gucci here, but it's probably worth just as much.
At this point, I mean, hey, I think we can all say we would love to have that Seal of Orichalcos belt. Okay, like so.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, those are just even that mat is just so nice and crisp and clean. Like, really, really nice. A player, shout out to Matt Pelletier, one of the sponsored duelists for the Semi-Limited podcast. He actually has one of those UDS, the UDS mats, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Anytime he brings it out, I'm just like, all right, I see why you paid a pretty penny for this. This is really, really nice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, just
But before we go into the last segment, speaking of belts and prize cards, what would you think you'd rather have? If you had the same benefits as far as like winning a YCS, and then from that point forward, you get a 2-round buy, you get all of your YCS entries for free, yada yada. But at the end of it, you either got a prize card that is only made once a year, or a UDS belt that's only made once per event. What do you feel like you kind of were leaning towards? Because like some people like moving the prize card, but would you really move a UDS belt? You know what I'm saying? And if so, what do you think it would go for?
So the belt, especially now, I mean, again, it's one of those things where it's like I feel like people sometimes sell off their stuff a little bit lower because they're just trying to make that profit or then get that money back. But I think the belt is, I mean, God, I don't know what I would put a price on it. I mean, it's something I would say like someone's not giving me like several hundreds, if not 1,000. I don't know if that's even worth it. You're getting, like you said, time.
Yeah, you think it would hit
like,
a K?
Yeah. Oh,
I was just thinking, you think it can hit 4 digits?
If it doesn't, that's because people value their stuff too less, and that's not my problem. You know, like I wouldn't sell I would want to. First off, I would want a belt if it's between that and like one of these new prize cards. I'd want a belt. But you're talking about time back at events, like you said, you're getting time given to you. This is the real world. We don't get that back to us. Okay, so you get time, you get sleep, you get focus, you get food. You know, like you get the 2-round buy at the events. Like that is worth a lot of money in my opinion. But on top of that, like the belt itself is just really sick, especially when, like you said, like it's like there's like the one, like or there's like the Seal of Orichalcos belt, and there's like this other belt. It's like they're very unique, you know. And with what they give the player, I can understand why all the pros want the belt. Now, I also played when Crush Card Virus was around. So a Crush Card Virus prize card, it's really hard to say if that was the only way to get something like Crush Card. I wouldn't take it if I was going to be playing in the future, because like having that Crush Card until it got like, you know, put in that gold series, those players had an insane advantage, and it wasn't a 2-round advantage. Yeah. They're going in to the finals with
Crush Cards, Minerva.
Yeah, man, with that Crush Card. So it's like if it was Crush Card versus a belt, I might go Crush Card. Or Cyber Sign versus a belt, I'm going to go Cyber Sign. But if it's literally like the Netherworld Dragon or whatever this thing is, I mean, it's cool. Or another Verse Dragon, or I know we're on to the new one, but it's like, those guys are cool. But unless like Konami makes like a structure that giving it support or something, like, I mean, it's going belt all the time. It's going belt 100%. So, easy.
No, I can understand that. Yeah, unless they make another Blue Eye support that just supports like level 8 vanilla monsters that are made from YCS winners, I don't see that those prize cards doing well. But it's funny you say that, because a lot of the competitive players, we have Eric Christensen in our locals. For those who don't know, he's just another really high competitive player. And he is one of those people, because I had the same opinion where I just didn't like these new prize cards, but he had the opinion that these prize cards were great. And he actually liked the fact that these are now vanillas, do nothing prize cards, because of the same thing that you just said. Like, it does give you a crazy unfair advantage having access to a card that is only available 7 times a year. You know what I'm saying? So, like a card like Crush Card, a card like Minerva, a card like Chaos Emperor Dragon, you know what I'm saying? Having access to all these cards before everyone else does, just because you topped an event.
Yes,
is insane, and that also makes the market value for it goes up. So you're not only playing the market value, but you're also playing the meta because of the strength of these prize cards, which are only earned from people who are supposed to be the ones playing them, but they wind up selling it off to like these other players who do scandalous shit with it. But like cards like Blood Maphis, like that's just a card you'll never see again in another like reprint set or something like that. Hopefully we do, but I don't think we will. But to get something like that, I think I would take the card, and I don't think I'd sell it. I don't think I'd sell either the first one of either if I won. If I won a prize card, I don't think I'd sell it the first one. I'd probably yeet every other one I won after that, but I think I'd keep my first one. And the same with the UDS belt. If I won any more, I guess I'd sell them off or move them or something like that. But the first one, I don't think I would go anywhere. I think
you don't want to place it, man. But the place set.
Yeah, place set of belts. I'm going to put all three of them, like one on my waist and two on my biceps.
Hey,
you know what
man.
I'm saying? I am the UDS champion boss monster.
Even just the Another Verse Dragon, just a play set sounds nice, But I'm stoked hoping Konami's going to, it's going to spell card to summon multiple from the deck or something, Something.
Yeah, but say something like that. Usually it's like a one of extra deck monster that's not too crazy, like Diablosis or something like that. Which eventually had a whole deck made around it. Shout outs to Cashier, I love him. Yeah. R.I.P. my nigga Rise Heart. So, but going into like the last segment today, because I don't want to take up all your time for you guys listening. We have one more segment. It's an oldie but a goodie. I like doing it. But while we got my man Ventral here, I wanted to do a segment called 3-2-1 Band. So some of the old supporters and listeners to the podcast probably know exactly what it is. In this segment, both of us are going to be listing cards for basically the order of 3-2-1, and then we're going to go for a ban card. So that means we're going to go 3 cards that can go to 3 copies, whether it be from 0 to 3, 1 to 3, or 2 to 3. Then we're going to list 2 cards that can be semi-limited, whether it's peeling back something from 3 to 2, and then maybe taking something off from like band or 1 and putting it to 2 just to test the waters. And then we have 1 card that can either go to 1 or come back to 1. And then everyone's going to list 1 card that should be banned that is currently not in our form. That is not banned, but within our format right now. So with those stipulations, I'm going to let our guest go first with his 3-2-1. And then I will follow behind that with my 3-2-1 ban as well.
So, do I got to start with 3?
Yeah, so you're going to do 3 cards that should, or you can do that too, like reverse order.
All right,
ban
okay, because it's spicy. So, first off, band, I don't really, it's hard for me to say, but I guess band, everyone hates Eradicator, Epidemic Virus. I'm not a big fan of it, and I think it could go. I think it could, honestly. Yeah, so Eradicator, band. All right, 1. Cards that could go to 1, I want to see Redox going back to 1, and I think we will. For 2 2s, all right? So 2 going to 2. I would like to see Naturia. It was like the tree trap that like when it's set to the graveyard.
Oh, Sacred Tree.
Man. They got hurt, man.
That's a good one. No, that's a good one. People stop playing the deck entirely.
Yeah, let's go back to 2. Number 2, for 2, Pinkertops. Come on. We've had Fenrir at 3 for so long. Give us pink. We need pink at 2 at least. 3 to 3. 3 to 3. Mind Control, please. 3, yes? Okay, cool. I'm glad we all agree.
I agree with that.
Number 3, Maxi. I want Maxi.
Oh my god, this guy.
And I also want Mystic Mine at 3, please. Oh yes.
Oh no.
Yes, same format, baby.
Oh no, Shadows. I was such a fan. All right, guys, that's the episode. This has been Player X.
Yes.
Oh no, Mystic Mine at 3. You really ready for that format again?
Oh, bro, I love it all.
It was a menace when it was at 1. Didn't it get hit to 1?
I don't think so. I think it just straight.
Was only played at 1? No, didn't it just go straight to ban?
Yeah, it just went straight to ban.
1, but...
Yeah, they just teched 1 and Striker just kind of went in, and people didn't play back rows even though we got 8 million. But it's okay.
That's crazy. No, I always respected it, and I always had the back row ready to go. I keep that back row on the hip, baby. We stay strapped.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. And then, what's your argument for Maxi? Because like, all right, I personally only because I don't take the Maxi argument because I wasn't around. My justification is if I never was in a format where Maxi was legal and I didn't feel the repercussions of activating Maxi, then I got no opinion on the matter. So whatever I say, whether it be for 3, 1, 2, who gives a fuck, ban, stand, like I don't have an opinion because I wasn't around for it. Yeah, I can give a justified or educated guess, but I don't have that experience. So what did you actually play in a Maxi format?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Do you actually? All right, so you have some sort of like battle scars from this card, but you think that it can still come off. What's your justification?
Okay, so first off, it's probably just bias. Like, I love Max C. I've loved maxing people. It feels awesome drawing cards. Okay, but for the justification. Okay, so right now with Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think we were kind of explaining this, like how TCG handles things a little bit differently than OCG. We really like to have all gas, no brake, you know? And I think a lot of our decks just kind of... It's I think newer Yu-Gi-Oh is like coding, it's like old Yu-Gi-Oh felt like chess. It was like back and forth. You're like baiting out traps and stuff. New Yu-Gi-Oh is like we're coding machines to kill each other. I don't know if you ever saw like that battle robot show with like the robots that would fight each other. That's what it reminds me of now. Is like you got these two polished machines that are like perfectly coded. This many starters, these follow-ups and stuff, and then they work so beautifully. And it's almost like, I don't want to say flawlessly because there's the back and forth. You got the hand trap baits, you got the tactics and everything like that, and that's kind of like the new, like reading and like it's like the new version of Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's cool. But I feel like Max C just adds that extra layer of like lesser decks that don't special summon like our trap decks and stuff like that, rather than Labyrinth, Outglitch, anything like that. Just kind of like slower builds have a lot more resource gain, and then it is like just kind of a slap against like the board building decks, like the combo oriented decks, which will still play Max C. And then I think there's a lot to be said.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is they're also going to be playing? So it's not like you're hindering one to benefit the other.
No, definitely. Everyone's going to have it, and I don't. And
you're
like
just taking the governor off and like letting the speed.
No, I feel
like go like slightly more increase as the game goes on. Like,
correct. But I do believe like for instance, but those trap builds, like the slower builds, don't get, like, if they get max seed, it doesn't hurt them as bad. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but obviously because you're so now you're trying to bait the influence of the format by for people to play more back row, just so that way they don't.
Well,
get max
it's just
seed,
one of the reasons. Like, but I understand. Like I said, like I understand why people don't want it. Like, absolutely, like get it, but. I think, again, it's just like right now, there's no time in Yu-Gi-Oh to like not keep going unless like, it's not like you're going to get Mare Force or Trenchfield anymore. Like the biggest thing is like Nibiru. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, get out the negate before the Nibiru.
But I'm going to draw the Nibiru now because of the Maxi.
Well, yes, exactly.
Now I'm drawing it. I didn't see it that.
No, for sure. But that's like the point, though. Is it's like right now I'm pretty sure if you go second, you're like playing a card at 3, it's like what is it, like 33% that you're gonna like open it or something with like a 5-card hand, and something with the 6 card I think it's up to like 40, and then like the Maxi definitely makes it where you're gonna be seeing those hand traps more going second. And it's just hard because it's like a lot of players are like, oh, it's good like for going second players, and then you have the people are like, well, I go first, bring out a board and have Maxi in hand. So it's really hard to just argue 1,000%, like be like, oh, it's just perfect for the format. It is. It's hard to argue.
Crazy.
But I do believe
you're a
like
Maxi to 3er.
I love the card, and I love seeing when players just want to slap down an entire hand that they have a little repercussion going.
All right, chat. You know what to do.
Yes.
I think I will go because, like I said, I don't have an opinion. I don't judge anyone off their opinion. I just like telling people this, stand on basically what they believe in, and at least have some sort of like mindset behind their, I would say, outlooked opinions. But I personally don't have a foot in that battle. But a good friend of mine once said, who did play back then, yes. And I do respect his opinion. He once said that toxicity in the format should not be fought with more toxicity. Yeah. So
it's a good one. I like that.
And that resonated with me. And I was like, this is another person who actually is an advocate for cards like Droll and Lancia to also be banned and taken out the game because they're turn-lasting cards. He said there shouldn't be a card in the game that lasts for a turn. And I think that all those cards should be taken out, and I agree. And his viewpoint was toxicity you should not have to fight toxicity with more toxicity, and it kind of resonated with me. And that's what my argument is for Maxi to 3. It's just like I don't feel as though we need we don't even need half the cards that are printed right now to do what they do, and I don't think Maxi is going to help that. I do understand people want to like bolster going second or like put more cards in for going second, but you can do things like
that's the mind control to 3 right
better
there.
going
That's what that is.
Like,
yeah.
I get that. I agree with a bunch of your points. Like I do think that Eradicator. I once called for Eradicator to be banned. I think I don't fall on that anymore. It's if you get Eradicator, you get Eradicator.
Yeah, it doesn't need to. I just couldn't think of a better one right now.
But I do agree with like that is the toxicity. We've seen that card played on live Konami feeds multiple times, and anytime it's resolved, the other person scoops without question. Like the match is over. It's very, very like dull, unexciting. It's not stimulating. Like you didn't really skillfully win. You just ripped all the fucking cards out of your opponent's hand. Like, oh yeah, just having a dark 3000 monster is so skillful. You know what I'm saying? So that I can call for it. I do agree with the Pankratops. I think that's on my list as well. And because like there's a bunch that I was kind of for. So I think if I were to give my list, I would go from going to 3. I would have Potted Desires, because if people want to Potted Desires into Desires, that's their prerogative. Yes. You know what I'm saying? If we have Pot of Prosperity at 3, which is a inherently better card, so if niggas want to banish 10 and go -12, that's on them.
Yes. Yes.
Time Seal is currently at 1, I think, and it just get to 3. No one's even playing it at 1. If Labyrinth isn't playing it, then we don't need to fear any trap card. You know what I'm saying? That shit can go to 3. And I was an advocate for Heart Pour at 1, but now that nigga needs to come to 3, because who cares anymore? Like, we're in a format where if you're trying to set up Orcus combo, I would laugh in your face. Like, I don't even respect Orcus right now. So let's at least see what they can do. You already brought Striker back to like fucking full power plus. If I see another goddamn Striker card get announced for the next year, I'm gonna like gouge my eyes out. But so for that, give Heart Pourer back to 3. Like, you don't even gotta make a new Orcus card. Just give them niggas back 3. You know what I'm saying? 3 Heart Pourers. And then going to 2, I had Pankratops. We had it at 1. I remember a format when we had Pankratops at 3, and it was a staple in every side deck. And I was just like, all right, when you're making a side deck, the first 3 cards you put in are Pankratops, because you never know when you're gonna have to go second. Yo. And it's just a crazy card how it's not once per turn, and it well, the summon isn't, but the effect is just crazy how it's a quick effect. It's a big ass body, and it's inherently really good. But we also have Fenrir in the body, or sorry, we also have Fenrir in the game right now, and that's probably a better card all around. You know what I'm saying? And that's at 3, so fuck it. If they're gonna hit if they're gonna hit Unicorn to 2 and leave Fenrir at 3, then we can get Pankratops at 2, right? Like, once again, let's advocate for these going second decks. I'll give them that. Who cares? If you have to deal with the Fenrir and the fucking Pankratops, all right, then it's just what it is. Like, sorry, guy. GG, you're bored. And I also had going to 2 Psyframe Gear Gamma, in the same aspect of, all right, let's give these going second players something. I never think it should go to 1. I thought that it should go to 2.
Yeah, it was a little rough going to 1.
Going to 1 is the same way that's in the OCG, where people just aren't going to play it. Well, some fucking crazy maniacs are playing that shit at 1 in the OCG, but Konami was just like, all right, guys, you guys need to chill with that shit. Everyone was fucking playing Gamma. There was a whole bunch of other hand traps and staples that were being played, and Konami was like, yeah, you guys get to cool out with that. You can play it at 1 or you cannot play it. This is going to stay a Psyframe card, not whatever we want to go. But yeah, going second, I would give them that I'm going to 2. If you want to play the second one and risk the percentage of seeing it just for the advantage of, negating and destroying a monster in the field or whatever, then yeah, whatever. I'll give it to you. And then going to 1, I got my nigga Rise Heart. You know what I'm saying? RIP the real one. He can come back. He's the gatekeeper. Keep all these other lower decks out. All my people know what I fall with, but I'm just playing, obviously. But in my heart, I want it to be a Rise Heart. But obviously, I think if I'm going to go in a direction I usually wouldn't, I think that Ronin Tonin could go to 1. I think with Elf being gone and Sprite not being too much of a threat, that having recursion on a second turn, and you're now forced to play the Swap Frogs again, with the only advantage being that you're getting the Ronin, and then now not as easy of a way to get to Toad recursion with the Elf being gone. Like, if you can't deal with 1 Toad, that's just on you guys. So I think Ronin can come back to 1, let the Sprite players have some fun, but that's just me. And then banned, I had Crimson Dragon, shockingly, just because I think that is the enabler for all of these fucking degenerate shits that's going on. Like, there's a bunch of cards that probably should be on this lock. Like, was it lava or acid golem and all the other fucking floodgate ass monsters that just say, hey, you're not playing Yu-Gi-Oh. But Crimson Dragon just being able to tag out into anything for just having the level on the field is just like a little ignorant. Tagging out into things like calamities on your opponent's turn, into things like Dissipator and Barone and all this shit, like all these cards that you're going into on your opponent's turn, especially the ones that have locks. It's just, we don't need that shit. That's just why we enabling that.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff just like, wasn't available back then. Yeah,
exactly. Or it was hard enough to do it to get to it instead of just
like
make a synchro 12 and pass, or you know what I'm saying, like crazy. But that was my list, and I don't know if you agreed. I was gonna advocate for banning Little Knight just because I think that it's super strong. We ban cards that warp formats all the time, like Kristan Halka Firebrax when that was played in every deck when people were going for that combo. Like now everything is tutoring into SP Little Knight, things like IP Masquerena, even like that one new card, that Link 1 that only you can link summon in main phase 2. I don't remember what it's called. It's like a twin, and then like a bunch of spellcasters. It's like an ultra print, but it just went up to like $10 because it uses one normal summon or set monster, and it makes SP on your turn in main phase 2 by using an extra deck monster, so you get the extra banish after you just attacked. So it's like now we're warping our extra decks just to cater to this knight. Not to say that it's not ban worthy. I don't think they will ban it. It's very new and shit like that. That hasn't stopped them before, but it is very new. So if we're gonna hit something, I would just say Crimson Dragon. But I would be on the side for, I think, advocating for SP's banning. But that's just me.
Oh, I feel that. SP Little Knight's one of those cards that definitely, like you said, has like warped the meta, which is kind of like the cards that deserve to be banning if anything. And I mean, it's kind of nuts seeing how they play it with the Baron as well, because it doesn't even have to hit the opponent's card. You just banish it in the Baron, and it comes back with the Baron,
with
and then use the effects. Yeah, it's kind of wild. But so a Rise to, you said a Rise to one or the substitute?
A Rise. I said, well, I want a Rise Heart to be one, but realistically, that's just for the locals. They know.
Yeah, you woke up and chose violence like me. I like it.
I love Cashtira format. I'll go back to playing that. Can we put that down in like Time Wizard format, just Cashtira format?
Yeah.
But if I'm going realistically, I think that Ronin Totem could come back to 1, and I don't think it would be that big a deal.
No, I agree. I definitely do miss the Ronin Totem, and Time Seal to 3 is something I definitely think we will be seeing, because it's like if getting time sealed lost you the game, something else.
Something won't happen.
Something bad
else happened.
Like, so that's where 100%. I'm at on that. I like your list. Yeah, no, for sure.
That's a skill issue there, guy.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so I hope you guys all enjoying that. We are starting to run out of life points, but I just wanted to thank our guests one more time for coming on. And as you guys all know, you guys can catch his YouTube link down in the description box below, and along down there will be linked our Linktree link, which you guys can click on and start following all of our social sites, so that way you can be a part of the Semi-Limited podcast community or Semi-Limited Inc. community, however you guys want to look at it. And you guys can also be updated with all of the giveaways and stuff that we have going on. Be sure to shout out. We are sure to shout out Unplugged Gaming at Manlius, New York, for sponsoring the podcast. Be sure to go join their Discord, which will also be down in that description box. You can join there and be a part of all the TCGs that they got there. And if you show up in store, be sure to tell them that the Semi-Limited podcast has sent you out there, and they'll be sure to hook you up with some offers on your order. Top of that, be sure to catch Brad, aka Mr. Perfect, streaming on 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch. You can catch that link down in the description box below on our link tree. It's right above ours. You'll see it. It'll have his own little name on and tag on there. But you can catch him. He'll be doing deck theories, deck building, and like I said, we'll be giving him that box of Valiant Smashers, so that way you guys can go join his stream, and I'll have him figure out a way how to give it to one of you guys, and you guys can go get yourself a box for just supporting the podcast and the endeavors that we got going on. So once again, find out how to go do that on the Twitch on Saturday nights, this Saturday going on. Along with that, one last reminder for the live recording. If you would like to be a part of the podcast and hear yourself on an episode, you can be sure to join our Discord, which is also in that Linktree link down below. You'll click it and then say join Discord. You'll be having to click that invite that I just made sure that everyone has access to. And you will be able to join the Discord, and you'll see a section on the vocals that says Semi-Limited Live, where you'll join. We'll have a panel of people up there for you, of past guests who've been on the podcast, where you can ask your questions. Maybe you got some lines of play you might want to need questioning out, maybe a tech card for your deck doctor, whatever you guys want to do, we'll talk it out there. We'll have some topics to talk about as well, but you can get yourself a part of it. And this is my way to give back to you guys as the last episode that we will be dropping for the 2023 year. So that will be December 15th, which is a Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so East Coast of the United States. So you guys can go drop in there and be a part of the Semi-Limited podcast yourself. I'd like to once again thank our guest, Vengeful Shadows, for coming in and basically tearing up the panel for us. Like, he definitely killed it, and I enjoyed the conversation. I don't know about the Maxi to 3, but we'll have to sway his thoughts the other way. But is there any last thoughts or anything like that about the episode, or anything you want to get off your mind? Any shout outs you guys want to say one more time?
Hey, man, I just want to say this has been really fun. Semi-Limited, man. Like, you are classy. This is really classy. I'm definitely look forward to see what you have for the future, because I know you're going to kill it no matter what. I definitely, again, wanted to give a shout out to the just everyone who does come in and check out the channel. I do appreciate everyone who's just, keeping the vibes positive. All my friends, again, Mr. Kodak, he just really killing it in the community. And then my buddy who does the thumbnails, just everything, that I need. He is just the best. Thug314, he's the best. Again, just huge shout out to him. And again, man, thank you so much for having me on. This has been awesome.
Absolutely, and we'd love to have you on again. Maybe if you're not doing anything December 15th, while we have the rest of our panels, you can come through and be a part of that as well. And we thank you for coming on and having fun, and we'd love to do it again. If you need any content or like that, you guys want to collab on something like that, feel free to reach out. You're now part of the Semi-Limited family, where we help everyone out, no matter how big, no matter how small. If we can help out, we're going to be there. So if you ever need anything, things to raffle off, merchandise, cards for giveaways or whatever like that, you be sure to let us know, and we will be on it. Like, I would say, rice hard on the ban list.
You're awesome.
We'll help where we can, but we just want to make sure that we extend our thoughts and support. So
thank you so much, man. You're
but with that being said, guys, we just wanted to give you guys something to think about before we start getting into the next year. Like I said, this is the last episode you guys will be hearing, so join us live December 15th for the next live event, which will be Friday at 8 p.m. and you guys can get yourself on the episode as well. So we are gone. I am Player X, and you have been listening to the Semi-Limited podcast. Thank you and good night.